No, but you're only muted to the stream. You shouldn't be muted in.
Well, good morning. This is Lowell Ann, host of the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. I help solopreneurs get to where they want to go using some coaching and consulting. This morning, we are going to resume a conversation we had some time ago about our website SEO. And at one stage of the game, we thought we were going to talk a little bit more about Yoast, the nuts and bolts of Yoast. And so that's where we're going to pick up again this morning. So we'll be back right after this. So this is Lowell Ann again, and that was a little bit of a rough start. Welcome everyone to the Being Your Own CEO Success Circle. We get together weekly because we enjoy each other's company. We like sharing information. We like testing and experimenting. And I think that this morning is maybe just another little example of me experimenting and learning how to use this OBS. So for those who are watching from the website, I encourage everyone to take a look at our operating principles because that helps to understand what we all stand for. You can see that all of those pieces were contributed by various people who have been at this success circle in the past. So I would like to begin now by inviting our panel members to introduce themselves. So let's see. Alana, how would you like to begin? You came on really early this morning. Anything new and exciting for you these days? Oh, now, was that exciting? Right. All right. Wow. Yeah, yeah. Try this. Is that, oh, I guess you can't tell.
Not
So,
for about 25 seconds.
yeah. All right. So we're just going to carry on. So, Heidi, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, I'm Heidi and I'm in Italy. It's evening and I mainly do broadcasts, live broadcasts, conversations with people and also writing blog posts about topics which are exciting me, which has something to do with how to be in the world and how the world could be a better place.
And
TheWisdomFactory.net is the website where the podcasts are.
And I have to give you a shout out for the beginning of your new season of the Conscious Aging series, and I must say I truly enjoyed your guest this week. So
Yeah, I enjoyed it very much. And he consented to, after he has some health issues, after he is well again, that we will do more conversations about psychology and about all these, for me, exciting topics.
yes. Well, I guess that's why you and I have gotten to know each other. Those topics excite me as well. So,
Yeah, it's great.
so welcome here. And just for the benefit of others, Heidi is deep into experimentation as well. So we're this is how we stay young, isn't it? Oh dear. So I'm glad you made it here this morning, Heidi. So Fred, how about you? What's new with you?
I'm Fred Jones. I'm in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, same as Lowell. And I run an operation called Our Future Leaders, where I work with young people, encouraging them to learn how to communicate, leadership, and get ready for the future that's about to face them. What's new with me? I'm dog sitting in Victoria. I'm now near where Jay normally is, just on the other side of Costco, if you know where that is.
Yes.
And Rupert, the dog, has just joined me. I just want to show you this gorgeous dog. He is so cute. Let's see if I can get him up here. There he is. Look at this dog.
Oh, isn't he cute?
He is wonderful dog.
Oh.
And so him and I getting along well, aren't we, Rupert? So that's something new in my life. I love dogs. I've always have, but this is one of the cutest dogs, and he is so energetic. He's 9 years old. He looks like a puppy, but he is wonderful.
Yeah.
I used to have a little dog, a little smaller than this once. I've had many dogs, and he reminds me very much of that dog. So Rupert and I are here today from
You've bonded.
Victoria. Yeah. Yeah.
Remind me to have a conversation with you, maybe outside this. I have my walking friend is being trained as a Girl Guide leader, and I want to share with you some of the things that she has just encountered. Some of those things may be of interest to you. So at some point, I will share that with you.
Yes, please. I look forward to that. Thank you.
Right.
And I'm muting my mic because my mouse isn't working. I just, with my headset, has a mute, so it doesn't show up, but I am muted.
All right. Thank you, Fred. And Bill, I see that your transmission seems to be a little wobbly this morning. I'm glad you got back. So, how would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, it's a little wobbly. It's been going in and out. I don't know if that's wobbly or wonky or just normal for Belize, but we're going to try and persevere through it. But everything is streaming full steam now, so that's good. My name is Bill Graham. I'm coming to you from Belize, where my website is billdoesbelize.com, and I share unbiased information, or what I refer to as the unbelievable truth, with anyone who might be thinking of making a permanent move to a developing nation. And I'll be doing comment tracking as long as my internet allows me to do that. And I did want to mention that Lon is out there. So
Greetings, Lon. I'm very happy that you made it here.
Yeah. And we would just encourage anyone else who's out there, please let us know you're there. Sign in, tell us where you're coming from. Leave comments or questions or any input you might have on today's subject, because we would love to hear from you and bring your comments on screen.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Bill. And Bill has kindly offered to do that wrangling for me. I hate that word. And he certainly is coaching me on all, so that I can remember all these steps. I think we're a little closer to having it down, but not quite yet.
Yeah, one thing every week, and before you know it, it'll all be perfect.
Yeah, right. Yeah, we talked about that last night on the OBS session with Andrew, where we were saying, just one thing at a time.
Yeah.
So,
and you'll have to excuse me if I don't look like I'm being attentive. I kind of look like I'm watching the salamanders running around the ceiling. That's because my comments are up a little bit higher than my camera, so I want to be able to keep track of that stuff.
Oh, dear salamanders. That kind of makes us all want to go to the tropics, doesn't it?
Well, in Canada, you use fly strips. In Belize, we use salamanders.
I love it. I love it. Oh, dear. Well, this morning, what I would really like to share with you all is it's finally stopped raining here. And on our walk along the beach this morning, we had this glorious, brilliant red sunrise. That was just awesome. So that was kind of a nice change for us. And we've walking past people's homes and so forth. We're starting to see really lots of signs of spring. My friend said she actually saw some cherry blossoms somewhere in town yesterday. So the early flowers are beginning to come out. So that's why we call Victoria this city of flowers. So it's I always feel really energized by spring. So this morning I wanted to continue our discussion. Because, before we got distracted with this, Fred?
Jay's here. Jay is here. You haven't introduced Jay.
Oh, he just appeared. Well, welcome, Jay. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jay. And so I'm here in Las Vegas and at the Wealthy Affiliate Super Conference, and I thought I'd just jump in and say a quick hello.
Boy, and I did notice a different background, and
Yeah.
I thought I remembered you saying that you were going to be in Vegas, so I kind of didn't expect you, although my calendar had a big question mark beside it. So
Yeah, I had to put a maybe because I didn't know my itinerary this morning. So we start our conference, our meetings at 10. So I've got a little bit of time here. So.
Oh, right on. Oh, I'm glad you made it.
It's funny, we were talking about Vegas briefly last night in a hangout we were in, or in a Zoom we were in, and I just want you to know what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, including the money you brought.
Yeah.
We had a great giggle over that.
Yeah. So no, we arrived last night or yesterday around 4:00. We had to sit in the airplane for about an hour though, because there was an issue with a cargo net for the baggage. So
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty wild because they so real quick they said they were on the phone or on the announcer. They said, oh yeah, we got a little bit of an issue. We're something wrong with the luggage. We're just delayed a little bit. Said that about 3 or 4 times, and I guess finally the pilot decided to fess up and said, yeah, so we got an issue with the cargo net. We've sent someone out to go get the replacement part, and
oh,
so I guess they went to Lowe's and take it apart, and And then they installed it, and finally we were off. And
Oh,
we didn't hear any jungling around or jumbling around down there while we were flying. So
you thought their explanation was suspect. I'm guessing.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So the program, does it look like it's going to be inviting and informative?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So it's the kind of we always get a small little document of an itinerary of what we're going to be talking about. And it's 55 pages. So
Oh, a small little document.
yeah.
Well, I don't, Alana, I guess you and I will probably, and Heidi, we'll all be probably hearing more about what happened in Vegas as time goes on.
We'll get the inside scoops. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all of us lucky to be able to access Jay's weekly show that he does for Wealthy Affiliate. So that's exciting. So okay, so we need to get to our topic this morning, and I'm glad you're here, Jay, because you're the one that showed me and convinced me that I should get the premium version of Yoast. I had the free version up till then, and I really like the idea of using the Yoast for to take care of my search engine optimization, SEO. And we last time when we were talking about SEO for our websites, we did talk a little bit about Yoast and all-in-one SEO. And as a result of that conversation, a few people said, well, they would really like to look at Yoast SEO in a little more detail. So that's what I thought we could do this morning. But I was thinking that I would try to remember what is the difference, what are the key differences between the free version and the premium version. And I may not be using all of what's available there as yet. But the key reason that I decided to go there is that it connects up with the Google console, where your crawl errors and being able to create 301 redirects and all of that is all part of the premium Yoast. So that was kind of the main reason that I decided to go with the premium. So Jay, can you, I know you use it probably more extensively than I do. Do you, and I know you have the premium version. Can you think of other differences?
That's actually really the primary reason, or the prime feature that it is the connection between, they say, you get faster support and all that kind of stuff. But in essence, yeah, I think that's really the prime reason, is the ability to connect to Search Console, and also the ability to correct Search Console errors right within your website. And that really is the only the only feature difference between the free and the premium. And to me, it's a real convenience, especially if you're making any kind of major changes to your website, whether it be a theme change or content change or just layout, structure, et cetera, you're going to maybe encounter some errors in Search Console. So Google's going to recrawl your website, take a look at it and say, you know what, here's some errors on your site that we're experiencing, and here's why. At which point you can repair the errors to a certain extent. If it's a redirection error, so for example, if you've changed, let's say you deleted a page, or you moved or changed the permalinks, the website address to that particular page or post, Google will tell you in Search Console, it says, we can't find this page create a redirect. So you can create a redirect right within the search, right within the Yoast SEO feature, at which point it says, okay, you've done that. Do you want me to mark that as fixed as according to Search Console? And again, you can do that right within the Yoast plugin. So that's a great feature. It's convenient. That way you don't have to do it inside Search Console, and it's just a nice, easy feature.
Yeah, so you don't have to bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
Now, I
have a question. Can I ask something?
yes, please.
I lately went into Search Console because I got an email, and there were crawl errors on 200 something pages. And I asked the WA support, and they looked into it, but they said it's not really preoccupying. So I really don't understand the whole thing. If you can say a little bit more about that, what it is about the whole thing.
So the way when they tell you have errors, it may be like not so much. See, the word error, according to Search Console, is a very vague and broad one, because what they called an error might be just an optimization tip. For example, some sites will have different forms of JavaScript from different plugins, right? So, and then they recommend, just put all that JavaScript in one script, one file, where, realistically, you can't do that, because unless you're a developer and you do some manual coding, it doesn't make any sense. So you have to take some of those errors with a little bit of grain of salt. The way that I say is that if it's not really causing an issue with your site where it's not performing well, then don't worry about it. I get small little errors in my site as well, but I don't, because they're not creating any user experience issue. It's not a big deal. So the report that they give you is for the perfect website, right? So, and it's something that just realistically speaking is never going to happen. So,
The follow-up question, I don't have a very good speed. So does that have a connection? And they say JavaScript stuff, which I should do, and I have no idea what to do.
Yeah, so maybe, there's a number of variables, Heidi, that could be the reason why your site would be constituted as slow. It could be that your images are too large, it's just various things that could happen, right? So if your page speed is at a yellow, because it usually goes green, yellow, red, and if it's at a yellow and it's it's one of those things that you'd have to have someone look at it. So what you could do, Heidi, is create a WA blog post with a screenshot of the errors and say, can anyone make any recommendations to improve it? At which point then you can have several eyes on it. I would actually get notified of that post, at which point then I can take a look at it and see if there's anything that would stand out.
Right on. So I may be off base here, but I have the impression also that Yoast will automatically submit your what the heck do you call it? Your
Sitemap?
Sitemap, yeah.
Yes, that is correct. Yeah, the sitemap will be automatically generated and automatically updated every time you create or update a post.
So, and that part I hadn't realized until just recently, because I made a major change and went in and looked, and I figured out that the sitemap had been updated already. So instead of having to find a sitemap and copy that and go over and input it, etc., Yoast does that automatically. So that's
and it is important to be aware that sitemap feature is for the free and the paid one.
Oh, that was going to be my next question. Right on. So that's a very helpful thing a useful thing to know.
Mhm.
So I do have a screen share for well, first of all, does anybody else in the room here use the Yoast plugin? And how do you use it on your website, Bill?
Yeah, I use it on my website, on my WordPress site, but I also use it for my Google site. Because I have it on my Bill Does Belize site, and because Google Sites being a free option, I can take my content, I can upload it in there, and I can do the SEO stuff that I would normally do in WordPress. It'll show me because I can't customize my meta tag or my the word escapes me, but what shows up in the search engine response page, it will tell me what Google is going to automatically generate. So that's kind of a cheat. But I also use it, and I think part of why we decided to do a second thing was that we were all familiar with that front page where it analyzes your content and this and that. But there was a few people that were surprised to hear that you could actually go into a social sharing section where you can, change the message that goes out on Twitter, for example, or Facebook, for example. You can upload into your media file on your WordPress site appropriately sized images, so that when somebody shares your content, all of that stuff automatically goes out automatically because you've set it up in Yoast. So I thought that was a great way, because when I share my content to other things, I like to share it from the website, and I didn't like the operation of going back in and resizing images. So I was able to do that right with Yoast and send it out that way.
So here is the back end of my most recent post. Okay. So when you scroll down below everything, there you get to see what you get. So what Bill is referring to is this, and isn't this interesting? So here it says, this is the Facebook preview. We are unable to detect an image in your post that is large enough. So as I recall posting this on yesterday, I did forget to do this. So what you can do is you can upload an image right here, I believe. Upload image. So there it is. So then that means that I need to find that image that I was using, or another image. I guess here's a piece that I don't know is I use the image. There's the one I want. Okay, select. So I use this featured image on my site, and I discovered that many times when you send a link to your blog post, that featured image will show up, and I found that it's but in Facebook it's not consistent. It sometimes does and sometimes doesn't.
And that's the thing you have to do, is you have to upload a couple of different images, or I upload a couple of different images sized specifically for the platform I'm sharing to. Twitter is about half the size of Facebook, and Facebook is, what is it? It's roughly 1200 by 600, whereas Google is 1200 by 900.
Yeah.
So you actually have to put those images into your media library before you can upload them into your Yoast SEO.
Yeah. So you just saw me do that. So also, now isn't that interesting? It's showing a Twitter preview, and I haven't posted anything to Twitter, so I guess I would. It's showing it
What it would look like if it was on Twitter.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So the reason why the image is on towards the left as opposed to above it is because of the dimensions of the image, or the size of the actual image is not large enough so that it'll be like a featured image part. So it pushes it off to the side like that. So that's
Yeah.
a genuine preview. There is also a setting within the all-in-one SEO, or I'm sorry, the Yoast SEO feature, where you can have a default social media image, so that if you don't have anything or forget to add an image, it will fall back to your default Facebook image or social media image of whatever you want. So
do you know
so
where it is?
that's
Shall I go and
yes,
look
go
for it?
SEO social.
Oh yeah, okay.
It's going to ask you to save this page first, probably. Oh, I guess not. So now go click on the Facebook tab. And then there's your default. So there's where you can upload your default image, your go-to image, if you will.
So when you say a go-to image, could that's going to be different in every post, isn't it?
Well, if you don't have an image, it will use this one. Like
Right.
if you don't have an image, or if it can't find one that's large enough, it will use this image, as opposed to no image. So it's a nice feature to have. So a good generic image would be suitable here. So for example, your image of you with your arms crossed, with your title and stuff like that would be suitable here.
Okay. Now there's I haven't explored this yet. So obviously there's four different ways that you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So wow.
And yeah, the example you showed, I mean, it took an image, and like Jay said, because it wasn't appropriately sized, it pushed it off to the left. Whereas in some of those platforms, you want your image to stand out and attract people's eye. So
Yeah.
the bigger you can make that image, obviously, the better it's going to work
Yeah.
for you, I think.
Of course. Right. So let's go back and I'm going to go back to my post again.
Can
And-
I ask a question in between?
Yes, please do.
You are talking about these big images, and I thought we shouldn't put on the website too big images. So I normally put 600 per something. But now you say you need 1,200 and even more. So I'm a little bit confused. Doesn't it load too much on the website?
It depends on the platform you're posting to get the best results. Google is 1,200 by 900, whereas Facebook is, I believe, 600 by 628. And Twitter shows the best at, 1024 by 512.
Okay, I get that. But when you have to upload all these pictures on your website, isn't it too much?
Well, you're uploading
not
your
necessarily.
media file, not to your website pages.
No, it's not. It's not, Heidi. It's
I know.
okay. That's yeah.
So when it's only in the library, it doesn't count as much as if you have published.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All these little things that we must know. So I just opened the site, the blog post again. So I don't know if we looked at how to edit the snippet the last time, but there is how if you because the description will take the first so many characters up there, but then if you don't want that, you can put you can design your own or say what you want. And then you can also, here's something I just discovered this week, where I've changed the SEO title. The title of this post is on being reactive versus proactive. And this is an old post that I have renewed and revamped and updated and changed the publish date. So and if you do that, you can create a new title in here. Well, one of the messages I got out of Yoast, it said, you've got loads more room in that SEO title. Why don't you add more? So I added another one. And I noticed when I posted this blog post to Google Plus, it showed those two titles up. And I had the second title is actually one of my headers. So
that's good. It's well written there. So yeah.
And something else you'll notice, I think the last time, about a month ago when we did this, Yoast hadn't updated to reflect the new character numbers in
the meta description.
Meta description. And you'll notice yours, you've got quite a bit of room there to add a little bit more information on your site if it's relevant.
Yeah. Well, and I tend to be kind of, I'm not very wordy. So I'm more interested as far as meta descriptions is to say it in a way that it makes sense, but also uses the keywords if I can. I try to make it sound right, you know.
I'm going to make a prediction that the new meta description length is not going to last. That is my prediction. I think it's going to go away. They're going to revert back to the old 160 characters.
And why do you say that, Bill?
Because it's starting to look messy in the SERPs, in the search engine result pages. Yeah, it
goes to that old saying, just because you've got the space to say it doesn't mean it needs to be said or should be said. So
exactly. Yeah.
Well, and there is that tendency of people keyword stuffing. And that's something that I find it's just artificial. My brain doesn't go. I can't keyword stuff and make it make sense for me. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I don't even try.
Alana, you had a question?
I can't see Alana.
You have to hover over your profile, Alana, and then there you go.
It took me a while to find the unmute button. Okay, just a quick question there, Jay. When you're using Yoast, when you're putting in like Facebook and Twitter and all that, does that mean that you can actually post to Facebook and Twitter from Yoast, from your website? Or does that mean when someone else can click on Facebook and share it? How does that work?
Correct. So the latter. So it doesn't mean that it posts automatically to the social media. What it does is it prepares it. It's putting a tux on your post so that it looks nice when someone shares it on those social media channels.
It gives you a bit of control over what people are sharing.
Exactly.
That makes sense. Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Right.
I do have to go here, guys. So.
Well, thank you.
Vegas is calling.
Have a great time. Don't leave too much there.
I'll try not to. It's tempting. It's a little too tempting, though. So.
Okay. See you, Jay. Thanks for dropping by. Everyone. Right.
Bye, Jay.
So just to continue a little bit more on what we were talking. So here is where you can put in your focus keyword. So I quite often make that the same as my title. But in this case, I made it the same as my SEO title, not the title that I started out with way back when I created this. So, And then you see it gives you some analysis up here. It says you can add keywords, and it tells you about, it gives you some sense of your readability, and it shows you some of the prominent words that show up. I haven't really learned how to make use of that, but I'm guessing there's a guide for keyword research that I have not yet accessed, but I certainly intend to. But I'm guessing that these are other keywords that could be added. I'm just guessing that. So I don't know that I have anything more that I want to say. See, you can see I've how many times I've revised this this website. It was published way back in 2014, so I have republished it.
I think if you scroll back up just a little bit, Lola, that list of things is telling you keywords that you've used most frequently in that post. And
yeah.
So they may or may not. And something else I notice is that for keywords to work for you, you should have a certain percentage without it being looking like it's keyword stuffed.
Yeah.
And that's anywhere from about 0.5% to just over 1%.
Yeah.
So if you've got 300 word post, you want to have your keyword, 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
You don't want to have it 10 times because then it'll get penalized. And if you don't have it enough, sometimes the things that are crawling your website won't recognize what your keyword actually is.
Yeah. So here it's saying that there's a problem, that my keyword density is 0.2%, and it's saying it's too low. Yeah.
And an easy way to check on your keywords is when you're in your website, if you go to Control F and type in your keyword, it will show you exactly where it shows up in your post, the number of times it shows up.
Yeah.
And so I always like to try and pick keywords that are, first of all, relevant, but secondly, that I can fit into a sentence so that they seem comfortable when people read them.
Yeah.
That way you can put it in there a few more times and it doesn't look like you're, trying to pound that keyword.
Yeah. So I think I'll stop sharing now. And
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Actually today, but I don't see him now.
He's had to leave.
I'm sorry here. Because your keyword, it is so specific. I wonder if if you have checked it with the keyword tool, if anybody would choose or search for exact this phrase, how you have it written. So how
I actually did do the keyword search within Jaxie. Mm-hmm. And that is why I changed the title.
Mm-hmm.
So
it seems to me very specific, no? So I was wondering if there's anybody really writing this.
Well, the scores, the searches, the average, the searches were high, quite high, quite a bit higher than the title that I originally had on this blog. So
that's interesting.
That is the reason that I changed the put in a different SEO title.
That's very interesting because I'm still more or less writing key words and not key phrases.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, and that's something to think about when you're doing. I mean, now with the new voice search, people are not necessarily searching keywords anymore. They're actually asking questions. So it's something that you have to consider for the type of site you're doing. Like I know from my site, I always try and predict the questions people are going to ask, about getting a job in Belize or how do I get residency and these things. And I find that they search very well because they match exactly what people are searching when they ask a question.
So would you then in one post, which maybe addresses both of these things, which you named near now, would you write these two phrases as keywords?
You have the option to do that in Yoast. I usually try and keep myself personally, and my strategy isn't going to work for everyone, but I try and personally choose one that's specific to exactly what I'm writing about.
And that's what I do as well. I use the title. I use the keyword. I use the title. I try to make the title the keyword, and I take that title and put it into the keyword place as well. So,
and the tags are a good way to add some of that other stuff you might want to, you might think will search better. Use the tag section.
This
Because
I
what you
haven't
don't want to
understood.
do is you don't want the things that are crawling your site to be confused about what your actual topic is.
What is the function of the tags? I thought it is only inside our website. Is it also going into Yoast and into the search engines? I don't get the difference between keywords and tags and all this stuff.
Keywords are in your content, in the content you read, and that's what the bots are going to read to see what you're talking about. The key or the tags will allow the bots to know what your website is about in general, I think. And that's the way I use them. So, I always include Belize information. I always include, different things about Belize that my site is related to, but I make my keywords specific to the post that I'm writing about.
So here's here's where the tags are within the back end of your posting.
Yeah,
right
I
there.
know that, but I didn't know
You
that
didn't
it
know
is
what-
also
okay.
informing the search engine. I thought it is just for me, or for the visitors to see under what tags they find what post, So that is new for me, that it is important for search. Thank you.
I've messed around a bit with the categories as well, and I discovered that the categories got throughout the the evolution of my websites. Those categories got all mixed up, and those were what were causing a lot of my 404s. So I finally decided to go with one category. This is my blog.
And that was something I changed about a year ago, because I heard actually using multiple categories for a post can be seen as dual content or multiple content, and you're going to get dinged for that kind of thing. So
yeah,
I went back to just actually uncategorizing my tags, and everything was just...
Yeah, I did too. So that was the one of the main things that we recognized. That when I first started, I began working with Craig. Actually, he is a former member here, and he and I worked together quite a lot of the time, trying to determine what the heck was wrong with my website, because. And there were all. We went into search console, and I was like you, Heidi. I had around 200 errors, crawl errors, but most of them were 404s. And as I went in and started correcting all of those things, we began to realize that part of the reason that happened was that whole category thing. So yeah. So that was.
Can I just mention to you about the density of the keywords there that you had up there? I happened to notice that your keyword phrase and your slug were different. Yes. And that would happen when you go back and revise a blog post and you change the title without changing the slug. And of course, it's not recommended to change the slug.
That's right.
Because that causes issues down the road as well. But that could be another reason why the keyword density is lower.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that that's slug. That's that's the term that Yoast uses. But the permalink, when you create a blog post, the WordPress creates a permalink. And that's the thing that I've learned that you should never change. And the permalink is what shows up in the slug.
The only time I ever change it is if it's in draft. So if I keep it in draft and I change it a couple of times because I'm unsure, I can get away with that. But the minute you publish it, you shouldn't change it ever.
That's right. So now I might tell everybody that all of these pieces around changing all of this and putting new titles in and all of that. These are all things that I learned from Jay's webinars that he does for Wealthy Affiliate. His he has a number of examples, and he's covered that a few times. But there was one in particular where he covered, how to take your old stuff and revive it. It's not just changing all these little links and so forth. It's really important to say that that you add and update to the content as well, because as you might guess, something that I wrote back in 2014, here it is 4 years later, and we know the speed of change and all of that. That if you're going to republish it, it needs to be updated.
So why don't you write a new one?
Just simply because it takes a long time, and I kind of run out of ideas. So
No, I mean the same one, but from your new perspective. Instead, updating takes time too. So
yeah,
the question...
but it's much faster to just update what's there. Much faster. Yeah.
Did you make sure to resubmit your sitemap after you did that?
No, but I did a fetch as Google.
Okay. Yeah. Either one of them will work.
Yeah, that's the other piece, the other part of that process that Jay described was that once you've made the changes and so forth, you go to the Google console, and under the crawl, you choose Fetch as Google. And you can ask Google to just redo that one posting. And it will fetch it, and then it will index it. You can there's a selection there that says fetch and index, so that way it shows up in the right place. So yeah, it's so I mean, because I had and Heidi, the other thing that you're asking, why didn't I just write a whole brand new? A lot of them referred to some books, and I had linkages to Amazon, but I was not an Amazon affiliate at the time. So I've gone in and I've been redoing all of them, so that I've got my Amazon linkages in there for as an affiliate. So it's been a sort of an ongoing process. So yeah. So we've lost Bill. I think he may have, he's been, lately his internet, here he comes back again. It keeps fluctuating. So Fred, I wondered, you've been very quiet about this. Does any of this ring for you, or do you use SEO on your website? Because I noticed that your website really shows up well.
Oh, thank you. I don't do a lot of SEO because my main focus at the moment is to get the online sessions, and once I've got that, I think I've got better product and people, and then it's time to start doing that. The one thing you mentioned that I picked up, and I come here because I'm learning a lot, and I really enjoy what I pick up from the group. And the one thing you mentioned about categories, I'm going to check my categories. That'll be something that I'll definitely look at when I do a posting. So I don't do a lot at the moment. It's really, the emphasis is to organize the herd of cats that I'm trying to organize, the young people.
Yeah, herd of cats. Well, something that I notice though is when I go to look and see what sort of traffic I get, etc., your site shows up because I quite often go into your site. I think I'm subscribed to your postings, so I quite often go in and write a comment, and because of that, my traffic it shows up because that's an external link.
All right. Good to
So
know.
that's another one of those techniques that's another reason why it's when we subscribe to somebody's posting, it is a really good idea to engage there, add to the comments, because then that enhances your standing within Google, because it's then seen as an external link to your site. So,
All right.
yeah, it's really important.
I just want to mention you mentioned that about the guide leader.
Mm-hmm.
I'll just send you an email and we should connect before we forget that one. Thank you.
Okay, right on. Cool. So, any parting things that we need to finish off before? Because I see we are 2 minutes. My goodness, today we're not going to run over for a change.
I would like to know what you mean with subscribe to somebody else's posts. To the newsletter, I know because I have these boxes in, but subscribe to somebody else's post, what does that mean?
Well, your post is now it's not the same as when you're when you have a web page, you have both posts and pages, right? Mm-hmm. So your post, when I have that set up so that post goes out to my list, and I have I invite people on my website to subscribe to this blog post, and when they subscribe, they get that automatically through Mad Mimi. And when they open it and read it, and if they add comments to the post, then and if they put their website in, then that enhances their own listing in Google, because it's seen as an external link.
Okay, that is a little bit confusing to me, because I heard the recommendation, if somebody puts a comment in your website, then you should delete the link they have, because that might lead to broken links and so on when they abandon the website. So I don't know if this is the same thing.
There's a little bit of difference. Quite often, and maybe it depends on how you have your commenting section set up. But for mine, they can put their website in and they can put their email in. But sometimes what people do is they stuff a lot of links within the comment. And sometimes that's not always, it's not always, quite often those things are not relevant to the post. And quite often, some of them, that can lead to problems. But if people are just putting their website, their URL website and their email address, those two things I think are important. The email address, so that I can respond and thank them for leaving a comment, and also for that external linking purpose. I think that's really important. So,
and that's a good point, that as hosts of websites, I mean, I hold all of my comments for moderation.
yes.
So so that when they hit the website with an answer. And I try and answer them within 24 hours. And a lot of mine come in overnight when I'm sleeping. So the first thing in the morning I do is I get notifications from WordPress that there's comments waiting. But I think as hosts, we have to be responsible to check the links that people put on our, first of all, see if they're relevant. Just because somebody says this link goes somewhere doesn't mean it goes there. So as hosts, we should be responsible to make sure that the content is consistent with what the content of that post is.
Yeah.
And yeah, to avoid those problems and that bad SEO that can come from it.
Mm-hmm. So I hope that makes a bit of sense to you, Heidi, and maybe that's something you might like to reconsider a little bit, right?
Yeah, actually, what the case with Bill names, when people leave website links and I cannot understand what that is about, I don't even publish the comment. Mm-hmm. Because I think this is phishing and this is something, spam.
Yeah.
So
that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Heidi, if I were you, I wouldn't. You can still edit it. You can still edit that. And I've gone in and taken out links on comments that someone has left. And just the other day, someone left a comment on my site. And they put a link in as well. And I hovered over the link and it was a dead link. So I didn't allow it. I just took it out. And I actually wrote when I responded that I took out that. I said in my response, I took out your link because it was a dead link. So, and yes, you're right that those sites can go down and you can get a report. You can check your site like every year, every 6 months, and you can go back in and take out those errors. It's kind of a pain, but having comments on your site's a good thing.
Yeah.
As long as they're relevant.
Shows engagement, and that's what Google likes to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when we have no comments in the VCP page, they don't count for Google, do they?
Oh, I don't think so.
Mm-hmm. So we miss out the possibility to have comments which count. But when you put the comment underneath, it must be moderating, so we don't have the immediate.
Well, and I would say they may not directly contribute, and it's the same thing with a lot of things we do in social media. They don't directly contribute, but the fact that people come every week and make those comments, those are visitors to your site. So yes, it's not direct help, but because the users are using that platform to come to your site and to leave comments and to engage, that's a good thing for your site.
Yeah. Comments are good.
Yes, comments are good. Okay.
Well, not all comments.
Well, yeah.
Well, I have no problem editing. I got someone left me a bad comment last year on a review I did. Mm-hmm. And I just took out the bad bit. I mean, it was just one little blip, one little last liner that they didn't seem to appreciate. And I responded very courteously, and I just happened to take out that one little line. So.
Yeah, and I'm not talking about that. I mean, we're all going to have haters, and I post those comments because it gives me an opportunity to defend my side of things, to say, I agree with your opinion, but my experience is this. Yeah. And to actually set the people. I'm talking more about comments that are totally unrelated to what you're doing, and they're the people that are fishing and trying to get your people to go to their site on auto mechanics when you're doing a site on empty nesters, right?
Right, exactly.
May well be auto mechanics, but
I would never post them.
No. Yeah. So, well, we've covered a little bit of ground here this morning, haven't we? But we are after 10, so I am going to ask everyone to mute for a few minutes, and also to stick around for some conversation after I do the outro. So
before you do that, Lillian, I'd like to just recognize and acknowledge Lon for joining us today again. He was out in the comments. So yeah, we appreciate Lon for showing up.
Yes, we certainly do. Yeah. So maybe Lon, you'll come in and join the conversation someday. So yeah. All right. So I'm going to start the outro now. Wow.